The Bible for the Poor and the Reconstruction of History. In this film, I will discuss the so-called Bible for the Poor, the Biblia Pauperum. This is its later Latinized name, a Bible in pictures with short captions. We do not know what the book was actually called in its time, as title pages either haven't survived or never existed. Officially, its various editions are dated to the late 15th and early 16th centuries. In printed form, it is known in Latin and German. In the manuscript tradition, it also appears in French and English. And here is where it gets interesting. This book casts serious doubt on the conventional history of the canonical Bible. Moreover, it forces us to re-examine the myth of the first printed Bible, the Gutenberg Bible, the logic of historical reconstruction. Before moving forward, I will briefly recap the essence of my historical reconstruction. In an earlier film, I addressed a seemingly strange map by the Dutch cartographer Claes Janszoon Visscher, better known by his Latinized name, Nicolaes Piscator. First released in 1652, the map was titled A New Geographical and Hydrographical Map of the Entire World. It was intended to be current for its year of release, not retrospective. However, it depicts the Caesars of ancient Rome, who, according to official history, ceased to exist 1,000 years before this map was published. Official version. These figures are merely allegories used to enhance the map's status and sales. My reconstruction. This map was released after the Peace of Westphalia, 1648, which abolished the institution of Caesars and emperors of the Papal Church state following the 30 Years' War. It shows the first Caesar and the last, signaling that there would be no more. The role of the Caesar and the Pope. In my reconstruction, the Papal Church state consisted of the papal states around Rome and dozens of enclaves in Central and Western Europe. These lands were military trophies of the Roman legions, led by emperors. Emperor, a title granted by the Senate, equivalent to a governor-general with the right to mint coins. Caesar, a lifelong title granted by the Pope. The Caesar was the secular co-ruler of the Pope, often a close relative. I propose that Gaius Julius Caesar Octavian Augustus eventually became Pope Julius II. Similarly, Julius Caesar himself was a Roman pope, the head of the church and state. The relocation to Rome. Official history calls images that don't fit anachronisms. In my view, Aeneas Silvius Piccolomini, Pope Pius II, moved the Holy See from Siena to Rome around the 1460s. In Siena, the symbol was the Sienese wolf. In Rome, the symbol was originally an elephant. After the move, the wolf with two infants became the Capitoline wolf. Why lengthen history? Why would anyone extend the history of Christianity? Legitimacy. A young religion is not the faith of the fathers and lacks authority. Unity. All Christian churches, East and West, work together to make the religion appear ancient. When Pope Julius II, Octavian Augustus, introduced the solar calendar in 1500, the New Testament did not yet exist in its modern canonical form. I argue that old manuscript Bibles, including the Gutenberg Bible, are later forgeries designed to backdate the history of Christianity. The Biblia Pauperum, a different canon. The Bible for the Poor is the oldest printed Bible because it uses xylography, woodblock printing, a technology older than the movable type used in the Gutenberg Bible. Its pages function like comics, a central scene from the life of Jesus, flanked by Old Testament parallels. Crucially, it contains scenes that are now considered apocryphal, non-canonical. The falling idols, the Holy Family entering an Egyptian temple, causing idols to shatter, the ox and the ass, animals bowing to the infant Jesus in the manger, from the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew. If the Roman Church censored all publications, why did they allow these apocryphal stories? Because at the time, they were considered canonical. #### evidence in art. Evidence of this Pseudo-Matthew canon exists in a 1520 fresco in a Carmelite monastery in Frankfurt, wood carvings in the Amiens Cathedral, Notre Dame d'Amiens, in France. This suggests that 16th century publishers and the church itself were unaware of the Gutenberg Bible, supposedly printed in 1455, because the latter was actually created in the 17th century to legitimize a new, edited version of Christian history. The state of ancient manuscripts. Regarding the Codex Sinaiticus, dated to the 4th century, Scholar Nikolai Morozov noted that the parchment remains perfectly flexible. Authentic documents that are thousands of years old become incredibly brittle and crumble like ash, e.g., the Turin Papyrus. Morozov argued that based on the material, the codex cannot be more than 600 years old. Conclusion: the boundary between the modern canon and its formation did not occur in the 4th century, but in the 16th century. The anachronisms we see in art, cannons in the Punic Wars, or emperors in papal tiaras are not mistakes, but reflections of a history that was much more recent than we are led to believe.